Good evening. Thank you for tuning in for another AT News update. Tonight, the partisan divide continues to worsen as indefinite government shutdown threatens nationwide services. And President Trump flaunts executive and federal authority across the nation amidst increasing unrest in cities from coast to coast. I'm Collin Moore. The government has officially shut down today as Republicans and Democrats continue to trade jabs and point fingers without any realistic resolution in sight. While Democratic leaders continue to demand the reinstitution of many Medicare benefits scaled back by the Trump administration, Republicans in both the House and Senate remain firm on the one fact that a temporary shutdown, nearly identical to the one that Democrats approved less than a year ago, would allow for services to Americans to continue uninterrupted as talks surrounding American healthcare are discussed between both parties on the floor. Now, I was always taught that pointing a finger at someone in public was rude, but so far during this little government shindig, even a newly engaged sorority girl hasn't pointed anything as much. Republicans in the House and the Senate are arguing that the American people should not be held hostage to the rather selfish demands of the Democrats and that a 7-week resolution to reopen the government and, by extension, all of its services to the American people would allow for discussions surrounding the healthcare demands of the Democratic Party. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has said that the Democratic Party is requesting $1.5 trillion in federal spending and are holding the government and the American people hostage. In recent years, the Democratic Party has actually been in favor of similar short-term resolutions in the event of partisan division. Now, Senate Majority Leader John Thune has said that the Democratic Party is holding out for political benefits and that while Republicans have been working to pass legislation, the Democratic leaders have been flailing, celebrating the shutdown as a victory against the Trump organization and MAGA on its whole. Now, the other side of things. The Democratic Party is said to be holding out for the reversal on aspects of the big, beautiful bill that limited Medicaid benefits. And this may be their strongest or even only political weapon while the Republican Party controls both the House and the Senate. But there is another aspect to consider. This prolonged shutdown is playing directly into the Trump administration's hand. They continue to threaten the permanent firings of government employees. And in the FDA alone, medical testing is on hold. And the workers on this temporary shutdown may never even be able to come back to work even if they want to. Earlier this year, Doge and Elon Musk signed off on the most significant government spending cuts in recent history, a clear goal of the current presidential administration. Now, a prolonged shutdown provides the same radicalized administration to drop the guillotine and finish the job. Instead of truly worrying about and working towards the needs of the American people, answers continue to be dodged on both sides. Michigan Congresswoman and House Republican Conference Chair Lisa McClain was asked point blank if she agreed that the idea of permanent firings following a resolution of the shutdown, but instead blamed Democrats because they would never have been in this position if they had just agreed on a temporary 7-week CR extension. Or in other words, if they had just complied. An interesting sentiment, and one alluding to a prolonged government shutdown as both parties continue to spar in Washington. Now, more on the Trump administration testing the precedents of the American government. The National Guard has been mobilized to several Democratic majority U.S. cities in what President Trump is calling World War II-like conditions.
Overnight clashes and arrests in front of Portland's ICE facility. And today, President Trump posting on social media that the National Guard is now in place and has been dedicated to restoring law and order. All this following months of occasional back and forth skirmishes between protesters and federal agents.
This is one city block, and even the events that are happening down there do not rise to the level of attention that they are receiving.
Back on September 27th, Trump activated the Oregon National Guard, and that led to a protest and a march on Sunday.
We're a beautiful, nonviolent city of great neighbors, and we want to stay that way.
In yesterday's speech before U.S. military leaders, Trump called out the city.
How about Portland, Oregon, where it looks like a war zone?
Oregon's AG filing a lawsuit to try to block Trump from carrying out the deployment.
As Americans, we do not believe that we should be using U.S. military forces on our streets in America.
Oregon National Guard's Lieutenant Colonel Charles Patzner will be commanding the troops on the ground.
We'll be doing some federal facility protection, some federal employee protection activities, but that's about all we know at this time.
But Portland's police chief says he thinks the soldiers are unnecessary.
I don't see the need for the National Guard at this time. I really believe that we've got a handle on it.
Meanwhile, some who live there are hoping the national spotlight moves somewhere else soon.
Hope Trump and a lot of the other folks from ICE and others who are in Washington are watching us today and saying, I guess the people in Portland really don't think it's a hellhole.
The president has also said that they were, quote, going to do a pretty big number on those people when discussing the city of Portland. Now, while the city of Portland Mayor Keith Wilson has denounced the federal intrusion as unnecessary and has even sounded the alarm saying that this military presence could goad on for future protesters in an increased response to the troops on the streets in a policing capacity, President Trump and other leaders continue to defend these actions as necessary for national security. This is unprecedented in our nation's history. Los Angeles has already endured this once, now Chicago and other major U.S. cities, and the president isn't done there. A need to protect federal property. The Trump administration is trying to frame this as a national security threat, and it's dancing dangerously close to the line between government mandate and the rights of citizens. Just yesterday, President Trump proclaimed that he suggested to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, that American cities could possibly be used as training grounds for our military. One would only expect he's suggesting he'd train his troops all over the country, preparing these young men and women for combat in any setting. You know, Florida, Vermont, Texas. Portland? Who the hell has ever been to Portland? But President Trump would rather have us believe that they're rather ready to stage a coup than admit that his policies and administration simply aren't popular in the city. And they're not alone. Countless cities across the country are feeling increased economic pressure as the federal government seemingly enacts revenge on petty disputes born from the past partisan disagreements, as well as inquiries into personal wrongdoing. Epstein files. I mean, you want to go after Portland, Chicago, LA, and yet just this week there were shootings in Michigan, North Carolina, Texas, and Louisiana that none of the national media is discussing. And all Trump-backed states in terms of the recent elections that aren't getting any mention. President Trump and his party of followers can continue to report World War-level violence in American cities in which they don't agree with the politics. But with every day, this view grows blurrier and more hypocritical. Claiming to speak for all of America, but to stand for only a few, is the exact conversation that is weaponizing political rhetoric on both sides of the American political spectrum. Whether you align with the Democratic or Republican Party, choose your neighbors, your colleagues, your classmates, friends, and family, and forget the partisan lines truly holding the country hostage. We have what is likely a while to go as Republicans and Democrats negotiate an end to this government shutdown, but our voices can and will make a difference. We just need to hold our ground and speak up.